What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. So today I'm bringing to you a set review on the brand new Yu-Gi-Oh set, Firefist of the Gadgets. You guys know every time we get a new set, I like to go ahead and cover the new cards as well as the reprints to discuss the competitive viability of the set and whether or not you might want to make any purchases out of here. So it's going to be a longer style video, so kick back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy. But before we get into it, if you guys really love playing for cash prizes in your Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, then I highly recommend coming to Pro Play Tour Orlando, Florida on September 7th and 8th. It's a $2,000 cash prize pool event, only 20 bucks to enter. I'll be there doing live stream commentary coverage for the event, and if you guys get your invite at this event, making it into the top cut, you get qualified to go to the $10,000 invitational taking place in January. So links are in the description, and I hope to see you guys there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Apologies in advance because I'm a little bit congested, and if I have to go ahead and take a drink of water, I do apologize. So we're gonna go ahead and cover the reprints first, because there are a lot of reprints in this set. It's nothing like really, you know, crazy, but there are some things of note. So we're going to kind of just go through the reprints really quick and get to the new stuff. So first off, we've got green gadget, red gadget, yellow gadget, gold gadget, silver gadget, and then for the Firefist stuff, because there are Firefist cards in here as well, we have gorilla, we have bear, spirit, rooster, cardinal, and I believe tiger king. We also have some of the fire formation cards in here as well, Tenki, Tensu, Yoko, and then we have some sub-tier cards. One thing to note is that there is no reprint for dragon. Dragon is actually a extremely high price right now because it's not being reprinted in here. A bit unfortunate, but sometimes that is how it goes. We do have some reprints though of cards like Subterror Fiendus. We have the Hidden City. This is an incredible reprint just because of how expensive this card was getting. So for you Subterror Guru players out there, or you know, looking to play this deck, this is definitely going to be a good set for you to look at. Then we also have Subterror Final Battle getting a rarity bump, only coming in rare, so that's pretty nice. Then we have Scrap Recycler in here as well. This is cool for you Orcus players looking to rarity bump those common scrap recyclers. Then we have Draco reprints too. Again, it's kind of random, but it's nice to have reprints of these cards because while Majesty Maiden wasn't too expensive, Ignis Heat was like 15 bucks a copy, and this is one of the most expensive cards in the deck, and now it's going to be so cheap once Fist of the Gadgets comes out, making Draco even more of a budget player's wet dream. There's also Dynamite Knight, which is only a one of, but it's still nice that it's in here. We got some Amorphage reprints like Lechery, Sloth, as well as Goliath. Not commonly played too much anymore, but still nice to have reprinted since Sloth tends to get expensive every once in a while. Chronograph Sorcerer, I believe, gets a rarity bump in here, so that's pretty cool for you Pendulum players. Master Cerberus gets a nice reprint, so that's pretty sweet. And then we also have a reprint of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, a very prime super polymerization target. So that's going to do it for all the reprints. Again, I just want to kind of go through those really quickly. Nothing too crazy. Again, if you're looking to pick up any of these decks, like if you want to play Draco or Subterror or anything like that, I would definitely say just go ahead and get the singles, because once you have all this set being circulated in mass, these cards are going to be incredibly cheap to pick up by comparison, and it's going to make decks like Guru Control, as well as, oh well, Guru Control does still have some more expensive cards like Extravagance, so it's going to make like deck like Draco, which is probably the best budget deck for anyone who's wanting to start getting into competitive. But now I want to take the time and go ahead and discuss some of the brand new cards in here. So first up, we have Boot Up Corporal Command Dynamo, Earth Machine level 4 effect, 0 attack, 2000 defense, target up to 2 machine gadget monsters you control or in your graveyard with different names, special summon this card from your hand, then equip those targets to this card regardless of their type. You can only use the effect of Boot Up Corporal Command Dynamo once per turn, gains 1000 attack for each monster equipped to this card. Again, nothing too crazy. I mean, gadgets have been easily power creeped and eclipsed just in terms of their power, just now that we're in 2019 Yu-Gi-Oh! Gold and Silver gadget had their time in ABC, but for the most part, I don't see gadgets just being on any sort of competitive level whatsoever, but I still just wanted to discuss the cards regardless. Next, we have Boot Up Admiral Destroyer Dynamo, Earth Machine effect level 8, 2500 attack and defense, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by sending 2 gadget monster cards from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while you control a gadget monster or monster equipped to a monster. Once per turn, you can target one other card on the field, destroy it. Again, the effect's not terrible, but again, this requires you to be playing gadgets, so that's why I'm not really too optimistic about it. It's nothing like ridiculous. I mean, you know, it's a machine, so I mean, I guess that's worth something, but I'm not too enthused about it. Next up, we have Boot Up Order Gear Charge. It's a continuous spell. When this card is activated, you can target any number of gadget monster cards you control that are equipped to a monster, special summon them. You can discard a card, add one Boot Up Admiral, or destroy your Dynamo from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can only activate one of this card per turn. So again, we have this whole theme of like special summoning the gadgets that are equipped to other cards, because there are plenty of cards that do that now. Nothing too crazy. I don't really see that going anywhere too much. Then we have Boot Up Order Gear Force. Normal trap. One, either player's monster declares an attack, and all monsters you control are face-up machine monsters with a minimum of 1. Destroy attack position monsters your opponent controls up to the number of machine monsters you control. So it's kind of like Mirror Force, but like you can use it if you're the one attacking. So that's like okay. But again, I'm not a fan of how conditional this card is. There's plenty of better cards you can play over this, so I'm not too enthused. Then we have Power Hold the Moving Battery. I think this is the last of the gadget cards. It's a continuous trap. Special summon this card as an effect monster, which is a Machine Earth level 4, 0 attack, 2000 defense. Then you can equip one level 4 machine gadget monster from your hand or deck to this card. This card is still a trap. If summoned this way, this card gains attack equal to double the attack of the monster equipped to it by this effect. Again, nothing too crazy. I mean, it's kind of cool, but like this would have been cool maybe back like when gadgets were actually like in their prime. So I'm not like the most excited for it. Now, the Firefist stuff is a little bit different. I think this stuff actually has some potential, probably the most potential out of anything we're going to discuss in this video. First up is Ram. So Ram is a Fire Beast Warrior effect level 3, 800 attack, 200 defense. When this card is normal summoned, you can discard a card, target a Fire Formation spell or trap you control, set one Fire Formation spell or trap with a different name directly from your deck. So this is cool because this allows you to fetch out whatever Fire Formation you need. You can get to Tenki, you can get to anything. That is really, really nice as long as you have another Fire Formation. So as long as you have this and another one, you can basically tutor anything. So that's pretty cool. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a Firefist monster, you can set one Fire Formation spell or trap directly from your deck with a different name from the cards in your graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. Pretty solid Firefist card. I mean, there's really not much to say. It's just a very good all-around card. Next up is Elephant, a Fire Beast Warrior effect, level 4, 1000 attack, 1800 defense. If it's normal or special summon, you can send one face-up Fire Formation spell or trap you control to the graveyard, special summon a Firefist monster from your hand, except another copy of Elephant. You can target a Fire Formation spell or trap in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then add a level 5 or higher Firefist monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Again, pretty solid. It's pretty cool because you're going to see later it does search one of the newer cards, Panda being probably one of the better cards out of all of them in here. Again, it's just pretty solid. It's nothing like ridiculous, but it's a fairly good card for the Firefist archetype. And speaking of Panda, there he is. So all these are Fire Beast Warriors. I'll say otherwise just so I don't have to keep repeating myself. Panda is a level 5, 2100 attack, 400 defense. If you activate a Fire Formation spell or trap card except during damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, then special summon a Firefist monster from your graveyard except another copy of Panda. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Firefist monsters. If a Firefist monster you control would be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can send one face-up Fire Formation spell trap control to the graveyard instead. You can only use each effect once per turn. So Panda's just so neat because as soon as you play any Fire Formation card, you can drop Panda, you can resurrect something. Yeah, you're locked into Firefist, but if you're playing Firefist, that's not really what you're concerned about. Panda is a very, very good extender and a very nice card for the archetype overall. Next, we have Brotherhood of the Firefist Eland. Now, this is a ritual Firefist, interestingly enough. Level 6, 2400 attack, 2000 defense. It's kind of weird. They're kind of going like the route of like Salamangreat to an extent where they're giving it like all different types of extra deck, or excuse me, like summoning conditions. It's really weird. But anyway, you can ritual summon this card with Fire Formation Dome. You can discard one monster, set one Fire Formation spell trap directly from your deck or graveyard. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can send one face-up Firefist or Fire Formation card you control to the graveyard, except another copy of this, negate that effect. You can only use each effect of this once per turn. So the effect's not like terrible, but I think the biggest issue here is like you're playing a ritual monster, and yeah, obviously there's ways to help just tutor this out in a myriad of different ways, but again, I feel like this is just like a bit too slow. I don't think it's really anything crazy. It's not like the worst card I've ever read. It's definitely like probably one of the better in archetype ritual monsters there is, but that's not exactly saying much. It's okay. It's just like, I don't really think that's the direction the deck should go. Next up, we have Swan. It's a fusion, level 8, 2600 attack, 2200 defense, 2 Beast Warrior monsters. If it's special summoned, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each fire formation, spell, or trap you control. So that's pretty good for time if you're playing this deck. During the battle phase, quick effect, you can send a face-up fire formation, spell, or trap you control to the graveyard. Target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's kind of like a Trident. The problem is you have to use it in the battle phase, so I think that's the biggest drawback to this card. It's a nice way to kind of get value out of your fire formation cards. However, I think the fact that you have to relegate it solely to the battle phase is probably the biggest hindrance that this card has going for it. But it's like, again, as far as like archetype specific fusions go, it's like not too bad. Now we have Brotherhood of the Firefist Eagle, the Link monster, and oh boy, this is a good one. So it's a Beast Warrior Link effect with bottom left, bottom right arrows, in my opinion the best. Requires 2 Beast Warrior monsters and is 1700 attack. You can only special summon Eagle once per turn. You can only activate, you can activate Firefist monsters effects without sending Firefist or Fire Formation cards from your hand or field to the graveyard. That's really, really good. You can target 1 Fire Formation spell trap you control or in your graveyard, return it to the hand, then send 1 Firefist monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Eagle once per turn. So Eagle is just insane because the amount of combo potential this card has, you can like, you can bounce something back to your hand, dump something, then you can activate a fire formation, summon Panda, Panda can resurrect something. Like, there's just so much combo potential that Eagle has. If there's like, again, a good generic like Link monster for an archetype, well, it's not generic, a archetype specific Link monster, that's what I meant. Like, this is kind of how you do it. Again, it's not like insane, but like it's very, very good. The fact too that you don't have to send the fire formations to activate the effects of the Firefist cards is crazy, because that means you're getting free value off of all of your cards. Very, very strong card. Next up, we have Brotherhood of the Firefist Peacock. And again, we're talking about good Link monsters. Oh boy. So it's a Beast Warrior Link effect with bottom and left arrows, 1000 attack, 2 Firefist monsters. So it's not Beast Warriors, it's Firefists. While this card points to a Firefist monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. When this card declares an attack, you can send 1 face-up fire formation spell trap you control to the graveyard. Then target 1 monster your opponent controls. Place that opponent's monster in a zone this card points to and take control of it until the end phase, but it cannot declare an attack this turn. You can only use this effect of Brotherhood of the Firefist Peacock once per turn. That is just ridiculous. The fact that you get to take control of your opponent's monsters, like, that's nuts. Like, yeah, it has to be done in the battle phase, but still, the fact that that basically circumvents any sort of like protection, any sort of like destruction, and just impermeability, like, there's so many good attributes in the fact that Peacock has this effect that it's crazy. It's just such a solid card, again, for the archetype. Again, is it game breaking? Probably not, but it's still a very, very good direction to kind of give legacy support like this to an older and much loved fan favorite archetype. Next up, we have Fire Fortress atop Liang Peak. So this is a field spell for the archetype. This is always treated as a fire formation card. Each time a Firefist monster is normal or special summoned, place a Firefist counter on this card. Once per turn, you can remove you can remove Firefist counters from this card to activate one of these effects. You can remove 2 counters, and it says if your Beast Warrior monster attacks this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. You can remove 6 counters and add any Beast Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Note it doesn't say Firefist, it's any Beast Warrior. And then finally, you can remove 10 counters, special summon 1 Beast Warrior monster from your deck or extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. Now, the thing is, are you going to be able to get it to 10 consistently? There's ways to, but I don't think it's consistent enough. I think more likely than not, you might be able to get it to 6 pretty frequently, just because you do a lot of summoning with the Firefist deck, especially with the combo ability that the deck has. I think 6 is probably the most realistic here. If you get it to 10, that's great, because again, it's any Beast Warrior. It doesn't have to be a Firefist specifically, so there may be some ways to actually break that mechanic, but it's a pretty okay card. I don't know if it's exactly something you want to run, but it's pretty strong in and of itself. The fact that you can just search any Beast Warrior, I think, is pretty decent enough. But you have to think of the fact that you're wasting a card. You have to summon 6 times and then you get the search out of it. That might be asking too much. It's a little bit difficult to say, but it's a pretty cool design, and again, nice legacy support for the archetype. Fire Formation Dome, this is a continuous spell. When it's activated, you can ritual summon a Beast Warrior ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal or exceed its level. If this face-up card is sent from the spell or trap zone to the graveyard, you can target a Firefist monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can only activate one Dome per turn. So this is kind of neat because you have a way to get rid of this. You get to special summon back something onto the field for free, which is pretty nice. I mean, it's not really difficult to remove your own fire formations from the field, especially when you've got plenty of options and able to do that. It's not bad. I mean, again, you have to play the ritual monster. That's probably like the worst part of it. But I mean, if you are playing the ritual monster, you're going to be playing this, and it's a way to generate some added value off of playing a card like Dome. Now we have Fire Formation InGen, continuous spell again. When this card is activated, fusion summon a Beast Warrior fusion from your extra deck using monsters from hand or field as fusion material. If this face-up card is sent from the spell trap zone to the graveyard, target a Firefist monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can only activate one Fire Formation InGen per turn. So again, it's for the fusion summon, and excuse me, the fusion monster, just like the other card was to the ritual. I don't know if you want to play the ritual and the fusion, to be perfectly honest, but I mean, again, it's cool that you get some added value off of it by sending this card to the graveyard. So, you know, it is what it is. Then we have Ultimate Fire Formation Sinto. So this is a counter trap. When a spell or trap card is activated while you control a Firefist monster and a Fire Formation spell or trap, which is very easy, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. You can only activate this once per turn. This is pretty strong. I think the only thing I don't like about this is the fact that it doesn't stop monster effects, so it's not like a complete Infernity barrier. It's more like the Magical Musketeer counter trap. That's like the first thing that comes to mind. So it's not bad, but the problem is I think in a competitive metagame, there's a lot more monster effects that you're worried about. So, I mean, it's good. It's a very good card. It's nice that Firefist has a searchable counter trap effectively, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, if it just hit monster effects, it would be so much stronger. All right, so now we have some Archfiend cards. These are actually inspired by Summon Skull, as a matter of fact. Japan's had these for a while now. So first up is Archfiend's Awakening. So it's a Ritual Fiend effect, level 6, 2500 attack, 1200 defense. You can Ritual Summon this card with Contract with the Abyss. This card's name becomes Summon Skull on the field, but is still treated as an Archfiend card. Cannot be destroyed by battle, except by battle with a Ritual monster, and cannot be destroyed by monster effects, except those of Ritual monsters. If this Ritual Summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Summon Skull from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So this is kind of one of those archetypes that's just paying homage to the older legacy stuff. I mean, we have like Red Eye support, Blue Eye support, all this stuff always coming up, and this is paying homage to Summon Skull. Nothing too crazy here. The artwork on these cards, I will say, is phenomenal, but other than that, I think that's really all these cards are really good for. Next up, we have Archfiend's Call. It's a Fiend Synchro effect, level 6, 2500 attack, 1200 defense. It is generic, so there might be some potential here. It becomes Summon Skull while it's on the field, but still treated as an Archfiend card. Your opponent cannot target any Summon Skull you control with card effects, so I mean, that's not bad. If this Synchro Summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, special summon a Summon Skull from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Yeah, well, I mean, that was pretty short-lived, but I mean, it's a generic, so I mean, you might be able to use it in some other type of deck. I'm not really sure, but I don't really think this is going to see any play whatsoever. Archfiend's Ascent, a Fiend Exceeds effect, rank 6 with a Summon Skull stats again. Generic rank 6. This card's name becomes Summon Skull, but is always treated as an Archfiend. If Summon Skulls you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material from this card instead. If this exceeds summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, special summon a Summon Skull from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So they're really trying to just help you get to Summon Skull or in any way, shape, or form as much as possible, but again, it's still held back by the fact that it's still Summon Skull. Now we have Archfiend's Manifestation. The fusion, again, Summon Skull's stats, requires Summon Skull and a Dark Monster. This card's name becomes Summon Skull on the field, but is still treated as an Archfiend. All Summon Skull you control gain 500 attack. If this fusion summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, special summon a Summon Skull from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So they kind of just all pretty much almost have the exact same effect, just of a different summoning mechanic. Now we have a few other cards here just to wrap up the video. So first up is Latency, a light Cyberse effect, level 1, 0 attack and defense. If this card is added from your graveyard to your hand by a card effect, you can special summon it from your hand. So it's kind of like, it's like Wadapon, I guess, but from the graveyard, which is weird. If this card is summoned this way and sent to the graveyard as link material, you can draw one card. You can only use each effect once per turn. So yeah, you get some value out of it. I don't really think it's anything too crazy, but I mean, it is what it is. Swap Cleric, Earth Cyberse effect, level 2, 500 attack, 1000 defense. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can have that link monster lose 500 attack, then draw a card. You can only use this effect once per turn. So again, getting value out of your link summons with these cards, but it's just a matter of getting to these, and like they don't special summon themselves or anything, so I think that's like the difficult part here. Next up, we have Defcon Bird. Win Cybers effect level 3, 100 attack, 1700 defense. You can discard one other Cybers monster, special summon this card from your hand. That's what those other monsters needed if you want to have any use of those whatsoever. You can only use this effect of Defcon Bird once per turn. Once per turn, when your Cybers monster is targeted for an attack, you can make the attack and defense become double its original, then change it to defense position. The change lasts until the end of the damage step. I'm not too much of a fan of these attack modifying, effects. It doesn't really do a whole lot. But if anything, it can special summon itself, so I guess that's worth something, but you do have to discard a card to do it. Now we have Prohibit Snake, a light Cybers effect, level 2, 500 attack, 1000 defense. Start of the damage step, if your Cybers Link monster battles an opponent's monster, send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Return that opponent's monster to the hand. So that's like okay, I guess, against like extra deck monsters. When your Cybers monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish a card from your graveyard, target a level 4 lower Cybers monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So I guess it's a way to like generate some advantage back. Again, it's just so specific. Like there's just so many hoops you have to jump through for this card to be like decent at best that I'm not really too much of a fan of it. Then we have Code Radiator. It is a water Cybers effect, level 4, 1600 attack, 800 defense. Kind of cool artwork. If a Cybers monster you control will be used as link material for a Code Talker, this card in your hand can also be used as material. So that's kind of neat. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, also negate its effects. If this card on the field is used as material, you can target 2 monsters instead. You can only use each effect once per turn. So I like the fact you can use it as material from the hand. That's kind of neat, but you have to be playing a Code Talker deck, which I know kind of exists, but like not really, so I'm not like too enthused about this card, but it's a kind of unique effect. I'll give it that at best. Next up is Spool Code, a quick play spell. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while you have 3 or more Cybers monsters in your graveyard, negate that attack, then you can special summon up to 3 Spool tokens, which are Cybers Light level 1 attack and defense 0 in defense, and they can't be tributed for a tribute summon. I guess the biggest thing here for me is just play Scapegoat. Like, you can't play more than 1 Scapegoat because it's limited, but I mean, you can use this at the end phase, doesn't require your opponent to attack, and you get 4 tokens instead of 3. That's kind of how I see this card. Next up is Signet Optimization, a continuous spell. If your Code Talker monster battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect until the end of the damage step. During your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a Cybers monster. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Cybers monsters. You can only use it once per turn. So it's pretty cool. It gives you an extra normal summon, but you're locked into Cybers. This is a card that could potentially be good in the future if you have like a pure Cybers archetype that's actually very, very strong and doesn't care about being locked into Cybers. I could see any sort of normal summon bestowing effect being good in that regard. You can ignore the first Code Talker part, but something to maybe keep your eye on for the future if we continue getting more Cyber support cards. Next up is Signet Conflict. Counter Trap. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated while you control a Code Talker monster, negate the activation if you do banish that card. And if you do, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of cards with the same original name as that card that was banished until the end of the next turn. You can only activate 1 Signet Conflict per turn. Again, it's kind of cool, but it requires you to have a Code Talker monster, which is how likely is that going to happen? Unless you're playing the Code Talker deck, it's not very likely. But anytime you get something that has an Infernity Barrier-like effect, it's not too bad. Now, I will say, this is really cool that we finally have Code Talker legal in the TCG. We should have had this like a year ago, maybe even longer, but now we finally have it. It's a generic, well, it's not completely generic. It needs 2 effect monsters, but it has a a top and bottom arrow, 1300 attack, gains 500 attack for each monster this card points to, and cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects while it points to a monster. Just like a very, very good card that we should have had a year ago, and Japan has had for the longest time, and we're now finally going to have it. Next up is Shooting Code Talker. I believe this is something that actually the Marincess deck plays because it's water, funny enough. It's a Link 3 with top, left, and bottom arrows. Requires 2+ Cybers monsters, 2300 attack. At the start of your battle phase, you can activate this effect. This battle phase, this card can make attacks on your opponent's monsters up to the number of monsters this card currently points to, +1. But this turn, when it attacks your opponent's only monster, this card loses 400 attack during the damage calculation only. At the end of each battle phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters this card destroyed by battle this turn. So it's pretty cool because it actually allows you to draw into more cards if it destroys multiple monsters. It's not like anything crazy, but it's a really nice card to have in your extra deck, especially if you're locked into something like water attribute type monsters. Excuse me. So next up we have L Phase. It is a Wind Cyberse Link effect monster. Top and right arrows, 2000 attack, Link 2. Requires 2 level 3 or higher Cyberse monsters. Gains 300 attack for each monster this card points to. If this Link summon card leaves the field, target a level 4 lower Cyberse monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but for the rest of this turn, its effects, if any, are negated, and it cannot be used as Link material, and of course it's a once per turn. I don't really see a niche for this card, but it's kind of interesting, I will say. Being able to take any level 4 lower Cyberse from your graveyard to bring it back is kind of cool, but you can't link it off. But there might be some plays with being able to use it for Xyz or Synchro, something like that. Definitely an interesting piece of cyberspace support. Then we have Talkback Lancer, Dark Cyberse Link effect. Link 1 with a down pointing arrow requires a level 2 or lower Cyberse monster. You contribute one other Cyberse monster, target a Code Talker monster in your graveyard with a different original name, special summon it to a zone this card points to. You can only use that effect once per turn. Again, so this is strictly for the Code Talker deck. It's not bad. Anytime you get a Link 1 for an archetype, that's pretty decent, but again, it's pretty much strictly relegated to the Code Talker deck. And last but not least, we have Raster Liger. It's a light Cyberse Link effect. Link 4, 2000 attack with a Firewall Dragon arrow, so top left, bottom, or excuse me, top left, down and right. 2+ monsters except token, so it's pretty generic. You can target one Link monster in either graveyard. This card gains attack equal to that target's attack until the end of this turn. You contribute any number of monsters this card points to, destroy an equal number of cards on the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So that's a pretty nice piece of removal, especially in a generic sort of Link 4. I think there could be some potential here, especially because this card is fairly generic. I don't expect to see it in every extra deck, but there could be an argument to be made in some certain decks that this card could see a fringe amount of play just for that ability to destroy tons of cards on the field. So guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up the Fist of the Gadgets set review. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the set overall. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Personally, I think the reprints are probably the highlight of this set, but if you're looking forward to the Code Talker stuff, or maybe you are looking forward to the Archfiends stuff, or the Firefist stuff, because I think the Firefist stuff, for me at least, is probably the highlight of this set, other than the amazing reprints for competitive players in terms of Draco, Subterror, and any of the other archetypes we have. I mean, it's pretty decent, but overall, I'm not super enthused about this set, but if you want the Code Talker stuff, or if you want the Archfiends stuff, or anything else, maybe even the Gadget stuff, that's totally your prerogative. I would still say to buy the singles though, because most of this stuff is going to be very cheap to pick up. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.